Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is a special Monday, September 20th episode. Wow. Mike's on the road. I'm in the office. Chelsea purr. Cristiano delivers in a PK-laden West Ham lunatic asylum. VAR saves City and Brighton, which we'll talk about a lot. But first, Mike, your game was not quite all in the face, but it was definitely a slap in the face. So how are you feeling about your precious Spurs and their event? And we'll sort of combine it into a big Chelsea Spurs
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, I'm unhappy. But it's funny. I'm not as unhappy as you would expect me to be for a 3-0 loss at home to a rival like Chelsea, right?
Mhm.
It was strangely when the lineups came out. Now, keeping in mind, by the way, pull back 1 second. I am actually at Chop Sports HQ in Mattawa, New Jersey. Very, very cool setup that they've got. I'm in the main studio. Really awesome setup. Yeah.
I am
But so
not. I
I'm
am.
on the.
I'm in an office room in my job.
That's okay. The reason I'm in Mattawa, New Jersey is because we're driving from Florida. So keep in mind that on Sunday, I had to watch this game while I made sure that Jessica's shift was driving Sunday morning because I wanted to watch the match. And I've driven pretty much the entire way other than that. Let me be clear. But so I was like, hey, this 4-hour period is yours. Okay. Like just leave me alone. I saw the lineup come out. I was very happy. Sonny back in the lineup. Bergwijn was hurt and unavailable. And I thought the interesting thing was that Chelsea did not seem all that interested in what was frankly a London derby. Edouard Mendy had a late, strange, undisclosed injury. So we had a Kepa sighting. We had Kepa in the lineup. And we had no Kante. Those two things usually spell disaster. And you had Sonny in the side again. By the way, we would be remiss if we went any further without mentioning this was earlier on Sunday morning. Jimmy Greaves, the all-time leading Tottenham scorer, played for Chelsea as well. One of the greatest English players ever.
He's the second all-time leading scorer in
in the world.
English goals. Period.
Well, and
Number one is Dixie Dean, but that's like in the 20s.
yeah. And I didn't know this, but Ronaldo passed him for the most goals in the top 5 leagues. Like 3 or 4 years ago, which means I assume Messi also did. But if I'm not without looking, he's
Right.
comfortably top 5.
He was up. He's like legit. And the funny thing
Yeah.
is he's both Chelsea and Spurs, but more for Spurs. Like
Much
his
more for
Chelsea
Spurs. Yeah.
years was like 16 to 22.
Yeah.
Then he went to Italy which was weird. Like in the 50s, that he went to AC Milan was
And then we picked him up
bizarre.
from Milan. He only had like 10 goals from Milan or something like that. Anyway, the interesting thing about him, right? So I saw they had at halftime, they had a ton of Spurs legends. And they were telling stories. They're all really tight knit. Basically, what would be the Spurs version of like Monument Park for the Yankees, right? And so they had so many of the players, Glenn Hoddle and my goodness, all of these stars that I actually met a few of them. I'm just blanking on all their names right now.
Ardiles probably.
Ozzy Ardiles was there. Thank you. Mickey Hazard. There's like Ledley King, obviously Michael Dawson, but there's like 5 or 6 other ones. And so one of them said, they asked him one time, what was it like to like go through a scoring drought? You're such this prolific goal scorer. And what was it like? He's like, yeah, I had one time. It was about 15 minutes. Right. So he was awesome. So going into that,
I'll give you another anecdote about Greaves. He was kind of like a Charles Barkley type before Barkley. So he played through the 60s. He misses the 1966 World Cup through injury, and actually is one of the most prolific England strikers ever. But internationals were different then. So he had like 50 goals in like 40 games, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
But he's on ITV from 1985 to 1992, and that's where I knew him from. He's got a very thick Cockney accent, and he was funny. He was super duper funny, super engaging, just one of these natural kind of a more jovial and funny version of, I guess he's like a Gary Neville role, but funnier, or the opposite of what Roy Keane is right now, right? So Roy Keane's a miserable fuck, trashes everyone. This guy was funny when say things, but he would say these really like insider racisty things. well, like Englishy race. He's like, well, he's a Scottish keeper. I couldn't get a nickel off him. You know what I mean? Like things like that, right? Because the English use the Scots as the cheap one in like the
Right, right, right,
in
right.
the in the if they do the old Catholic Jew and a Gentile jokes, the Scots are the Jews.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't do those jokes anymore. The world is better for it.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Speaking of, and R.I.P. to our friend Norm Macdonald, who I think died since a fine
Probably,
sportsman
yeah. Tough
himself.
weekend.
Anyway, so
So
Chelsea,
going into this,
keep
right? Like,
going
so
in.
that's
Yep.
the thing is that, he passed away. Kane had a relationship with him. And so we're waiting for Kane to get off the mark. One of the bets I made live was over 2.5 goals with Harry Kane, which I'm sorry, over 2.5 shots, not even shots on target, just shots. And I have a gripe on that. But yeah, I felt really good, better than I thought I would when I saw the lineups. And the first 25 minutes were all Spurs. They were really going at them, really taking the game to Chelsea, and you could feel the absence of N'Golo Kante.
Mhm.
Jorginho was lost. Kovacic was interested, but I mean, still being sort of overrun in a midfield that wasn't particularly dominant. Gio Lo Celso just didn't do much for me. And Tanguy Ndombele, again, I've talked about him on the show a number of times. He's the best player that Spurs have, the most talented player that Spurs have. And
He's
I
not fit. He can't
I
run.
hate him.
He can't keep it up.
At
Right.
the risk of sounding obvious, he's just fucking lazy. He's been here for 3 years, right?
So
Like,
I think where we're with the surprise. I think Chelsea were surprised. I think
yes.
that Spurs used the energy of the crowd to press and attack
Mhm.
Chelsea, and got a lot of joy attacking fullbacks, getting into spaces. Reguilon was really good early,
Yeah.
was able to do things. But I think the key piece was the changes Tuchel made. And what was
Yeah.
interesting about so this happens at halftime. You go into halftime, you're like 0-0, not bad. This is a good game.
Right.
Tim Howard on the NBC broadcast was like, this has to change. Chelsea are getting killed. So they were both saying the same thing, both he and Musto. And the irony of it was the change that Tuchel made looked defensive. So the
Mhm.
change was to take Mason Mount off and put Kante in. Now, at that point, that means that Chelsea now has 3 defensive midfielders in.
Right.
But that change completely changes the space because Kante's just becomes everywhere, starts blocking everything. And I don't have a better way to put it. Spurs vanish. They just have no way to handle it, or they don't have a plan, or they have no system, or the energy was sapped out of them. They just not capitulated. I wouldn't say that. They just quality of of Chelsea just turned up. I will on the back end of that. Lukaku did nothing. I thought the central defense was really good for
Yeah.
Spurs.
I
It's
agree.
in the midfield that everything just disappeared. I felt like Delhi was running and trying to get to places, but didn't seem to be able to affect the game. He seemed to be trying to. You felt like he was running and always like a half a step behind.
Yeah.
But I think, they had a dominance in the midfield. But then when Conte came in, he's two. He just feels, that was the note in my head. I was like, why does it always feel like Chelsea has more people on the pitch
Mhm.
all the time? Because it's the 3 and the 3, right? So they play a midfield 3 with the 3 at the back, and then they have an extra man because they play the wing backs. And Rudiger seems to be, he just comes out. You're just like,
Yeah.
where did he come from? Like a ball gets into Kane between the lines, and Rudiger's there, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
that means someone's available, but
Somebody has to be running in the channel or something, and
there
it
was
just
nobody
doesn't
there.
happen. Doesn't happen. And so that you absolutely right, because Conte effectively swallowed up Ndombele, Lo Celso, and Dele Alli all by himself, essentially. Um, and you're right. In playing what's effectively a 4-4-2 diamond, you don't have Sonny going wide. You don't have anybody really in the channels either, because Sonny's basically standing still.
It
And
kind of, and there's no room in behind. There's nowhere to
exactly.
go,
You're
right? So
basically playing into their hand.
right.
2 blocks of 3, you're basically sitting Kane and Son in the middle of the 2 of those blocks, and you're like, do something. And there's nowhere
and
to go.
and so that's the thing, like, because I thought about the Champions League final, and I thought about how Chelsea play. They make good teams and good players seem like they don't know what they're doing. You're like, how? why can't anyone move the ball through
Right.
anything? There's just nothing. I don't know how they do it. They're drilled well. Rudiger is in the right place. Azpilicueta is a good defender. They seem to interchange well. And then when they do get the ball, they can pass out because they don't lose it, right? Like
Mhm.
Kante makes the right passes. Jorginho's fantastic on the ball. And
Sure.
Kovacic is really, really technical. And your goal comes from not, I mean, I know every single set piece goal has to be a mistake. I don't think Delhi was particularly bad on it. It's just they made a run behind the wall, and
Yeah.
Silva got up before him, and he was like,
Mhm.
"Oh fuck, there he is," and he headed it home. The second goal, I think,
It was a bouncer. It was Kante,
oh, it was a
actually.
deflection from
Yeah, that's a
Kante.
shit
Could
goal.
could
And at
they
which
have got?
point I turned it off because again,
Yeah,
I'm in the
but could
car
he
with
have
the
gotten out to it? Like you, if you were watching Chelsea and someone said, "Oh, if there's one player to let shoot, just let Kante shoot. It's no big deal." Fine. And
ping
then
pong.
then by
Yeah.
the late part, the Werner comes on, you're already out of gas at that point, and
Yeah.
Rudiger has like a striker's goal, which is like, so so basically Chelsea have won 2 games in a row where they won 3-0, where they were bad
Fine.
and had to make
Yeah.
changes to win them. So I mean, like we said before, Chelsea are really looking strong. They have different ways to win. They won this game on 2 goals by defenders and the most defensive midfielder in the league. You relatively held their attack in check. Like
Yeah.
nobody did anything. You
So
weren't getting battered. You just lost.
I want to go back to yeah, of course. I want to go back to the first half though, because again, promising lineup. And how you beat a team with three at the back is that the wings are going to be wide open, right? Especially
Got to
Marcus Alonso has no
You got
fucking
to
idea how to defend and
you got to move the ball quickly from
and
side
moving
to
the ball
side.
quickly. Understood. Yeah,
It's
but
hard.
you already mentioned him, but Reguilon was everywhere in the first half because that's the side where you have all the joy you can want, and so he got in, and the one opportunity that I'm still ruing was he gets in on effectively a 2-on-1 and on his left and never once thinks about shooting. He gets inside the box and tries to square it for Lo Celso, and I think it was Rudiger gets in the way. Good positioning, clears the ball, and really from that point on, and I'd say that was about the 30th minute.
That
That
was
was it
it.
for Spurs.
Yeah, and Silva was really good. Like one of the things that
Yeah,
really
he was.
bothers me about Silva and some older players is like you the profile isn't right, but there's something still good about them, and you know that your team doesn't sign them. Like I just think City could do for a really old player, right? Like a real
Yeah.
old head. I mean, we have Fernandinho, and we'll get to the City game. It's just like, god damn it. Or you look at, we'll talk about United in a second. You see Ronaldo, yeah, he's 36. He's fucking awesome.
Let's use that. Let's use that segue.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
because
for sure.
I mean, this was the first time I really got to watch Cristiano Ronaldo. I did not see the first game all that closely, and it was just something where I was like, "Oh my god, he is so dominant still." Just it
That's
was
that's
1-1 in the early second half, and the save that the West Ham keeper made, he was coming off the right, and it was a nothing burger opportunity, and he just fizzed the ball in a piss
yeah,
missile.
off the back of the side of his foot,
Yeah, yeah.
like
It just
muscles you that normal humans don't have. He
correct.
has
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. So he was everywhere. The interesting thing about this was that United were dominant early on in the game. They get caught out and they give up a goal. They get it
On a
right
deflection.
back from guess who? Right on
Yep.
a shit goal, fine. But they get it right back, and then it just felt like all hell broke loose, sort of at the second
in the
half
in the
there.
late half. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the so one of the things I'm going to shout out my guys at FB Ref. If you look at FB Ref, you can go and look at the second half, and basically it says United, United, West Ham, United, West Ham, United. Yeah, they're shooting back and forth.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's one of the things that we have with United is, and one of the criticisms of Ollie, I'm going to keep doing it, is they don't really control games.
Mhm.
United fans can get frustrated, but if you're an opponent, you're always kind of in it. You never feel like demoralized. But for the neutral, the games are exciting. They're up and down.
Oh, they're fun. Yeah,
United are going to mess them up. You got star power. I mean, like real heavy dude. Like Pogba looks amazing. He's tall. He's always regal. He's on the ball, moving it around. They do fun stuff. You've got Greenwood, who's like legitimately 2-footed and can do whatever he wants to do with the ball. And West Ham are a fun team, and the crowd was fucking charged up at I think like something has happened at that Olympic Stadium that was dead, and it's alive now. I don't know if they changed the dimensions or
right,
the
right.
pandemic has made them sort of accept it. Like they had a whole season of West Ham being really good and not being able to be there, and they've just decided we like Moyes, we like this team, and if
Time to get
West Ham
behind them.
like you,
Yeah.
there's a bit of a snowball effect to it. And this game was it picked up. There were penalty shouts.
Oh my God.
Cristiano had 2 against him. One of them was ruled out. One of them was definitely a penalty they didn't even look at.
They didn't even
Then,
look at it. The one in the
which is
93rd, right? Okay, so
yeah,
hold on.
ridiculous.
And going back real quick, a word on Mason Greenwood. Good for him, because you bring in all of this talent. You bring in Sancho, you bring in Ronaldo. There's only so many spots on that attacking line, and you assumed obviously that Greenwood would be one of the casualties of that. And he has taken it by the horns, and he's been so good early on.
He's
And
so good.
I'm loving watching him succeed. So that's one. And he actually, it wasn't him, it was Lingard who scores a fantastic goal late on.
I thought he was going to go too, right? You've got the whole West Ham team. They give him a huge ovation. Yeah.
Yeah. And so West Ham was the team that was expected to sign him. They had him on loan last year. And, he scores this great winner against them, but almost not, right? Because so it's 2-1 in the 89th. And Ronaldo, I think if I have the timing right on this, the penalty shout, the second penalty shout, arguably
it's late.
third,
It's very late.
It's in stoppage time. So it's like the 91st minute.
Yes.
And I went, oh man, that would have won me my fucking bet. We'll get to that in a second. And so, but that they didn't even look. And it was okay. At full speed.
It's about as clear a penalty as you can be.
At full speed, you're like, I don't know. It was Ronaldo. Maybe he went down, whatever. With one glance at a replay, you're like, oh no, that's a penalty. 100%.
Yeah, all day, 100%. Now, the thing is, there had been one before that was overturned that was fair, right? Because Kufal puts his leg down, Ronaldo goes into it, he goes down, fine.
Right, and so he's got a little bit of that, the referee does, and I understand. I think it was Anthony Taylor, and I get that, but that's what VAR is there for, right? So this is the first call I've seen this season where VAR kind of, they weren't allowed to fuck it up. They weren't given the opportunity.
It's Atkinson.
It was Martin.
That part's weird. Then there's a handball to give basically West Ham the win.
Right outside. A draw.
Yeah, a draw. And it's a handball under the current rules. I don't like it. Fine.
It's a shit call. It's a shit rule. It's a fine call because that's what the rule is.
Moyes does Euro 2020 England. He brings on Mark Noble, basically a one-club man who's played his entire career at West Ham since 2004. He's now 34. His record at penalties is 39 taken, 35 made. He hasn't missed a penalty. He missed a penalty in 2017 is the last one he missed.
Yeah.
And he comes on just to take it, and he fucking misses it. Now, there's two things going on. There's two things going on. De Gea hasn't saved a penalty in 4 years, 20-something penalties in a row, and Noble hasn't missed in 5 years. There's an immovable object here that logic says you could do it, but everything about it was the wrong thing. In a weird way. It's like, yes, you should do that, but don't do that.
So I was mad when I saw they got the penalty and I saw him come off the bench. I went, okay, because I hate Mark Noble. So I was like, fuck this guy. Come on.
So Mark Noble comes on and he misses, and United pull another one out of their ass. I mean, if there's a luckier manager, it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's not good. I don't care. He's got the best players.
It's weird how the cosmic luck follows teams, right? It had Liverpool's back for a while. One would argue it still does from time to time. And now I think it's turned, and I think it's completely in United's camp.
I think part of it is more talented teams generate better luck.
Of course.
There's that. Then the other piece is I do think big teams get calls a little bit, even if it's marginal, even if it's out of every 100, they get 51.
Yeah.
That's enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just because it's natural. Someone's making calls. And so, we'll see it in the City game. Like the next game we cover is just calls happen. Like City should have lost and United should have drew, and City played awful. And there was a penalty in the second half. Ward-Prowse would have taken it, and he's standing there with the ball in his hand. The VAR, he's ready. VAR goes, nope.
Yeah.
So it was a double jeopardy. So as we segue into City played Southampton at home, a game that I think Southampton were plus 1,200
to
win. I don't know what the draw number was. It had to be plus 600 at
I was
least.
gonna say 500-600, yeah.
And Southampton had one of those games where they played hard. City had one of those games where they didn't. The irony being Pep yelling at the fans during his press conferences to say, we need you guys to show up, and
Yeah.
forgetting to tell his fucking team to show up. They don't show up. It's the regular lineup. Raheem's through the middle instead of Ferran Torres, and City just don't create anything somehow. They had that classic. They had a flurry in the beginning. Could have had a few shots. Could have had a few goals. Didn't work. Didn't get anything through. City took 16 shots, only one on target. They just never really created anything amazing. You felt like Southampton were, if anyone was going to win the game, they would. Fernandinho looked 36 for the first time. And I think this is the game that I was sort of going, oh, look at Fernandinho. He's making forward passes early, but then later in the game, he's running out of gas and he's just losing passes. So uncharacteristic. City moving the ball, losing it all the time when they're trying to build up. It's the first time that I went, oh, Rodri does stuff. Right?
Yeah.
It's that ticking over, boom, 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 the methodical stuff, taking the ball, turning it and passing it, taking the ball, turning it and passing it without losing it or without fucking it up. So that linking piece that really is a hub, and he just moves things. And City could never get any attacks going. City scored a late goal in the 95th minute, 94th minute, but Raheem Sterling was adjudicated, as they like to say, offside. So City did get a late winner that they VAR took away, but they should have lost. Kyle Walker's challenge on another day.
Wait,
they called it as
walk me through that. Because again, this is not a game I got to see any of, but I was tracking it a bit.
Armstrong comes through on a good pass, probably from Ward-Prowse. I don't remember. Maybe it was Romero. And Kyle Walker's coming from an angle to his side of the box, and he simply steps across a bad touch by Armstrong, and Armstrong goes down after being stepped across. Nobody gets the ball. There's no ball, but there's no kicking of the leg either. It's simply Kyle Walker is stronger than you and got in front of you.
Right.
And so he does go over in real time. It looks like a pen. I mean, but when you see it in slow-mo, it's not. But in real time, it was double jeopardy. It was a PK and he got a red.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask, because I was like I said, I was tracking the game and I saw that Kyle Walker had a red card overturned. I hadn't seen any of that. And so it was a foul in the box.
Yes.
And didn't they outlaw?
He was on his own.
Didn't they outlaw the double penalty?
It's on a handball. It's on one of versions of it. I don't know which one it was.
He
was the last man in and sort of he came flying in from the side. So from his permission. But listen, I don't even think McCarthy had to make any saves. Like City just didn't do anything. And I think it's because Sterling was through the middle. He doesn't make the same runs as Ferran. This is just, and the narrative is always going to be whenever City don't score, they need a striker.
Yeah.
It's going to be this way for the whole season. I do worry when you look at Liverpool basically taking 25 shots a game and Mo Salah scoring every game, or Sadio Mane scoring, and the Anfield thing, and you look at Lukaku scoring goals and then they're able to win without it because everyone's focusing on Lukaku, or you look at United with Cristiano, it's a glaring hole when you compare it to the competition. And it's just, City are great. They have two great players at every position, but there's something to guys who want to score goals. I think it's the mentality piece. It's not talent wise. It's just, I am scoring this fucking goal. And there's nobody on City that says, I am scoring this fucking goal. There's plenty of guys that say, I'll set up this fucking goal.
Right.
But there's not enough. There's guys that want the ball. They want to do stuff, but there's nobody that's like, I'm scoring this now. What are you doing? Like, Craig
Which
Burley,
is ironically, this would have been the perfect team for Cristiano Ronaldo, because he's I'm scoring the fucking goal now.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that Craig Burley made a really good point about. I know you're shocked, but he was like, "Listen, all this modernity, all this shit, putting balls in the box and crossing them in and heading goals in, you may be as fancy as you want. You still score goals like that. Yeah. That is still real. You still need to do that.
Yeah, sure.
And City literally cannot do that." Right?
Yeah.
They literally don't
it's
score goals from
it's
strikers
on
right. They need Jota, they need Watkins, they need someone to do something that's not nothing. right?
Mhm.
Like Callum Wilson would be fine. Like anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like Jermaine Defoe. I'll take it.
We said Danny Ings in the
Yeah,
summer, you know?
Danny Ings has been great, but less on a as a setting things up. He's just a good footballer. He's the only reason he's not on one of the top 6 is because he has a knee of a 76-year-old woman,
Yeah, right.
right? But yeah, so Liverpool, right? We have to cover all our bases on the whole gang. Um, but I think before we talk about Liverpool, we should talk about our friend Joe at Attitude of Gratitude.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're in his hometown.
We are.
Mike probably saved money to buy gas
That's right.
to drive
So
all the way, and
yeah.
I am saving money for lunch. But go to Attitude of Gratitude Consulting, and Joe will help you to save money in any way he can. Look, he's even got a little app that helps you save money. There's Joe. You can go find out who he is. And we're really excited to have you in the studio with the
Yeah.
guys. And maybe you'll get to go pop by and see Joe. Look, he's even got
Well, so that was
testimonials and everything.
So it's my first time, actually being here, and I'm gonna try to figure out a way to get back soon. But I was asking him a little bit about, a little bit more about some of the guys who sponsor the shows and all that stuff. I talk to Joe all the time, but I was like, so how do you guys know him? Blah blah blah. It's just it's one of these things where he's just a guy in the community, and it's someone that there's so many things in life where you need someone you just unequivocally can trust, right? And that's kind of the way that these guys kind of describe Joe. And so that's kind of where, like I said, I've been talking to him. We've told you, he's helped me save for the wedding, for this trip, the whole, hey, Mike, I know you got the stupid dog. Okay, we'll find a cheaper dog-friendly hotel, right? So little cutting corners, little couch cushion dollars and this and that, but it's more than that, right? Like he's just a guy that you talk to and you feel good about, not just the advice he's giving you, but the content of the conversation as well. Like he's just a family man. So do us a favor, talk to our friend Joe at attitudeofgratitudeconsulting.com, and he'll take care of you, I promise.
So that's awesome. I do want to get to Liverpool. I mean, we have to cover our top 4. We'll cover the 2 red teams. We did the blue teams. Now we're doing the red teams.
Yeah.
United were wearing blue. So the red teams, Liverpool. I was excited for Crystal Palace. They showed up for the first 25 minutes, and then Liverpool were just like, "No, we're good. We got this."
Yeah.
And they blow them away. They win 3-0, but Crystal Palace should feel good about where they are right now. I think the turning point game was the Spurs game. Our guy Edward came in. Olise's coming in. My guy Conor Gallagher. Is it Connor? I keep calling him Connor. Yeah. I don't even know if his name is Connor. But he was good.
No.
He was good again. But they just don't have the horses. And
no,
I think, like I said, Liverpool are averaging 25 shots a game.
So
really good goals again by them. They're looking good.
They're looking deeper than I expected to. Konate really started to make his mark.
He's big.
Yeah,
I didn't realize he was, 6'2". I was like, whoa.
6'4".
Yeah, he was standing next to Sadio Mane after the goal. I was like, whoa, who is that giant dude?
Yeah. The interesting thing is sort of a makeshift backline, right? Like you would not have said Konate is their number 2 center back, certainly not yet. Milner on the left. And Tsimikas, I'm sorry, on the right, and then Tsimikas on the left. So you didn't have Robbo, you didn't have Trent Alexander-Arnold, and you still basically buried Crystal Palace. When I saw that lineup, again, one of my picks of the week was Palace +2, saying, "Hey,
you were close, right? They got
a late winner.
The last 2 in the 78th and the 89th minute,
right?
And so Keita's was a belter. I was like,
yeah, it was. But that's the thing is that you look through that side that they put out there. This is nowhere close to Liverpool's top 11. And this is the difference between the Liverpools and the Man Cities, and I suppose United because they're deep enough, and the rest of the pack, right? Mm-hmm. When Spurs went to, now granted, this game also, to be fair, is at Anfield rather than Selhurst Park. That's a big difference. But when you look at the team that Spurs were forced to put out because of all the bullshit during the international break at Selhurst Park, that's a team that would put a lot of fear into a lot of hearts of Spurs fans, myself included, and it showed, right? They just never had any attacking powers, any interest.
And Skip and
and Winks, and so it was not pretty.
Yeah, and we were in our transfer preview, we gave Liverpool an F. We were like, well, they're not there. but they didn't need them. I guess the players they had in reserve, based on being injured the previous season, they were just banking on Konate, banking on Thiago, banking on Curtis Jones, and Harvey Elliott, unfortunately injured. And you saw Origi come in, and James Milner's 36. He's
Yeah.
been playing since he was 16 years old.
Yep.
He's on year 20, and he can still give you 15 starts. He can
he'll
still
give you a
give you a
shift.
1,000 minutes and won't fuck it up. And he's and he's got legendary status now. I mean, City let him go 7 years ago. It's
Right.
like, wow, you're good.
So I did not expect to see this much of a, shall we say, Liverpool B squad, and I expected a better result. And I got more of a B squad than I thought, and I did not get the results. So that's how that's how that weekend went.
And the thing was, and Klopp said this, and this is a really valid point, and we'll talk about Arsenal. These are the games that you gotta have and you gotta work hard for, and they're hard and they're a pain in the ass, and you're missing your guys, and you gotta go get them, and you gotta win them and put the points in the bank. Like as much as Spurs can give themselves a hard time, you got those 3 wins. You have them, right? Narrative sucks right now, but you would have lost to Chelsea anyway. You would have never expected to beat City. You're really kind of where you should be. Maybe the Palace game might have been better. Maybe it would have been a draw. You'd have 1 more point. So I think, especially I think what I got from the Spurs game, and when we talk about Arsenal, because North London derby, they played well in the first half. That Spurs should go, we have something. But I think there's a little bit of a creative piece that's missing, and you need to figure out if Reguilon maybe needs to be Cancelo. Maybe he needs to come inside and try and be creative on that side.
Well, look, you don't really have a right back right now, so you could see about that. I mean, put fucking Davies at left back then and let him basically – no, I know, but what I'm saying is let him basically be that defensive and play in a slanted way with that, similar to how City does with Walker and Cancelo. But, yeah, I mean, when I look at the 3 – well, like you said, I do want to get to Arsenal, but when we get to the 2-3-0 losses, I was incensed and furious. It ruined my whole fucking weekend because it was the early game against Palace. And when I look at Chelsea, of course, I hate losing to them. I fucking had to hear it from my friends who are Chelsea fans. I just despise everything about them. But I'm far more encouraged by that first half performance. Look, when the champions of Europe bring on the best midfielder, arguably in Europe, which, by the way, is not fucking Jorginho, and he completely changes the game, all you can do is tip your cap. You need your stars to basically go steal one, and they didn't. Part of that's down to the scheming. Part of that's down to the formation.
We didn't get to talk about it, but you got to be worried for Kane. Is he there?
No, I'm not.
Will he get there? I don't know. I would be.
Well, you didn't have any lateral threat for him to, right? Like I said,
is
you have
Mora that
important?
Where's Mora?
Mora's hurt. He got hurt.
All right, they do need that second speed guy to
go.
But
that's what I'm saying
Son.
Is that
because then you can mark Sonny and it's fine, right? I got it.
But that's right. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not concerned. Everybody, that's the clickbait nonsense this week. And I expected more from Kane, but he needs something around him to draw attention away from him so he can thrive. If he's going to be on a 1-on-1 scenario, he's going to be fine. But if it's a 3-on-1, nobody in the world's going to be able to do that. So yeah, his goals will come. He'll get a brace against somebody shitty. He might score against Arsenal. He does love a goal in the North London derby, especially at the Emirates. But he's going to get off the mark soon, and then he's going to blow up against a shitty team. And then we'll start to, like you said, Spurs are where they should be. I'm not happy, but I'm not as, fire everybody, throw everything to the wolves. So
so you have your North London derby coming. Arsenal, we've talked about them. They are getting off the schneid. They put a lineup out that was their real lineup, right? Kearney, White, Gabriel, Saka, Odegaard, Emil Smith-Rowe, Aubameyang, Tomiyasu's looking good. Pepe, but he's there. Ramsdale is like a revelation. All of a sudden, he's like a defensive captain.
So was talking.
Maybe that's what they needed, right? He's shouting. Yeah. He's talking to guys. Hey, where are you? Come over here. Yeah.
So I was talking to a friend of mine down in Florida before I left, and what he was saying was he's cohesive, right? Is kind of the way that he sort of described it, and it was.
But they had Martinez was like that too. Anyway, that's another story.
No, I know, but Bernd Leno is not, and I think that's the point, right? So he's not good with his feet, but also he's not communicative, and Ramsdale is as a shot stopper.
Probably not
average.
He's shortish.
Yeah. So nothing special. He's Aaron Ramsdale. That's hilarious. Like, no, but the value he gives you is in the cohesion and in the communication within the
Oh,
defense. And
he's
that
not.
all
He's not short. I had that wrong. 6'4". He just
Ramsdale is 6'4".
he seemed small.
So he just sucks at stop shot. So that's fine. But from the cohesion perspective, he's going to give you as much value as clearly he can't give you as an actual keeper and shot stopper. But I think that we undersold him quite a bit. Now, is he worth 40 million? Fuck no. But I think that he's bringing a makeshift back line. He's sort of helping them gel a little bit. So that's the value that he's been giving them. And yeah, I mean, look, Arsenal are where they should be as well, right? They had a really tough go of it to begin.
The only
It's
game
funny
they lost
how,
that they should have won was Brentford, and that was a tough game.
but that was a tough game, and we said it on the show. We are like, Brentford's going to run them, and I'm not.
They're still
Listen,
not. They're still not really creating anything. This is their problem, right? They're
as
supposed to
well.
score.
Well, I never
The
said they
thing,
were good. You said they might be. I never said they were good. I think they're mid-table.
yeah, I think.
So
But the thing that's good about this game was they were there for the fight, right?
yeah,
Burnley put in 27 crosses. White and Gabriel led the team in clearances, and
mhm,
so what you had was an Arsenal that was professional. They looked like they could be Arsenal, right? Like
mhm.
as opposed to having Holding and Chambers who are just like, let me just do my job in this box, and if anything goes outside of that, that's not my fault. Right?
Yeah,
They kind of this had a bit more cohesion. Party made a difference. They obviously are hurt again because that's just glass. So Party and Tierney went off again.
mhm,
So they're still going to have to deal with that. But, listen, Burnley are not as good as we think. They're in the bottom of the league. Arsenal's 2 wins are against Norwich and Burnley, and they only scored
mhm.
2 goals, right? But Odegaard has been good. They have a bargain there. Someone they can probably move on when he's 26 or 27 for 80 million pounds. He seems to want to be there. He's a worker. They just need to get one of their front players firing. Either it's going to be Saka or whatever, but no one's shooting is the problem. They're not even taking shots.
No, but
They need to get there. They need to score goals. Listen, I want them to lose because it's funny when they lose, and I like the Schadenfreude. But I also had them in the top 8, top 6. I don't remember
yeah, you
what I
did.
had them in
You had them at
because
6, I think.
I thought they'd be defensively solid with their possession game, and we'll see where they are against Spurs. I think this is
Right.
really one of those. It's about as deadlocked as it is. Your team has better game changers, I think.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Well, hold on. We'll
But
we'll
they
go deep into.
their strength is in the midfield though,
Yeah,
compared to yours. Yeah.
we're gonna dissect all of that on Thursday in our preview episode. That's going to be the main game going into the weekend. But yeah, I think that it's going to be a litmus test for both teams. We're going to learn a hell of a lot about both teams going forward. There's a lot of pessimism coming out of Tottenham right now, understandably,
Yeah.
and conversely, there's a lot of optimism coming out of the Emirates.
Yeah.
I don't really buy either of them, and so it's going to be an interesting conversation. So
Yeah,
we'll
see.
save
I
that
mean,
for Thursday.
what we don't want is injuries, right? So, but there's a whole slate of other games, and then our gambling victories, which
Yes, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the one. All right, let's talk about the one game of the team who's currently in the top 4 that we have not talked about, and is going to lead us into the best bets of the week. So
my friends from Brighton, the
yes,
Seagulls, in the top 4. My top 10 finish, which I
that's
looked at
right.
the odds for, were not great. It's like plus 110. It's not as big a long shot as you think it is.
Right.
But they come out. They have they weather a storm from Leicester. Then they get 2 goals. One on a very Neil Mope handball induced on Vestergaard. He literally grabs his arm, and as he's going down, Vestergaard throws his arm up, and then the ball gets headed into his hand, and they call a penalty.
Mhm.
Because Neil Mope might not be able to finish, but he is a little bit of a bastard, which you like. He's a little bit of a little cunty Frenchman. So good for him. He draws the penalty. Then our friend and mine. Let's see if I can get the wide view so that I can do the Danny Welbeck. Danny Welbeck scores on a corner. He gets those done. So Brighton are up 2-0, and Brendan Rodgers makes some changes. Again, Madison off. Madison
Mhm.
is killing them right
Yeah.
now. Harvey Barnes killed them
He's
entirely. Not even
I
because
love Harvey Barnes. It's
I'll tell
bothering
you
me.
why. I tell you why he killed them, but in a minute. So Lookman comes on and completely changes the game for Leicester. I'm pretty sure is it uh, or is it? Yeah, it's Madison who comes off for Lookman.
Yeah.
Completely changes the game. The defense of Brighton is very good, but on that side they have Solly they have Solly March and Veltman who are not defenders.
Mhm.
And so they just keep attacking that side. And Veltman's hanging in there, and everything's coming down that side. Lookman has a couple chances. They win a corner. Corner number one that ties the game. Harvey Barnes is offside
Yeah.
by Ndidi. Okay, fine. They tie the game again. Harvey Barnes is offside.
Uh,
These are the offside,
I
both
hadn't
VAR
seen these.
checks, both VAR checks, both offside, where he's not really in the line of sight or interfering with the goalkeeper, but they call it offside.
Oh man,
Both
Harvey.
times, Harvey Barnes. So his job is to sort of back into the keeper. Now, to be fair to Brighton, they didn't keep anyone on the line, and they did push up when the ball came in. So they're keeping a high line within the gap of the
Mhm.
keeper, and Harvey Barnes is just standing there both times, like not didn't really know what was happening. Both called offside. That is my last team for the parlay, and Brighton pull it out. So again, that luck piece. Last year, luck was always against Brighton. This
Mhm.
year, luck is for Brighton.
And they sit in fourth right now. They are
Yeah,
sitting in the top four. So they're 4-0-1.
incredible,
And
incredible.
they're, yeah, I mean, look, like you said, it's the little things. It's a 10-point difference easily, if not more. And I'm happy to see them on the right side of it. And nobody is a bigger proponent of Brighton than you're probably a bigger Brighton supporter
Supporter.
than even the Brighton fans. You are
Oh,
like you're always with
no,
them. So
it's more about Potter. I just want Potter to go
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
And I saw, like I said, I saw the thing about him, and I was just blown away. And then my other parlay was
Well,
Aston
no,
Villa versus.
it's one parlay, but it's three
Right,
legs, right?
sorry,
So
3 games. So I had Arsenal. I just felt like the myth of Burnley is a lie. Arsenal beat them constantly, and they haven't lost at Burnley since 1973. So I was like, they got this. They're better than this team, and I think Burnley are really on the decline. No changes, no new players, nothing. It's the
mhm,
same fucking 11 guys for 5 years. So fuck them. The next game that I won was Everton at home. Sorry, it was Aston Villa at home versus Everton. This is the Leon Bailey game. Comes on for 20 minutes, assists and scores.
mhm.
One of them is an own goal, but it's kind of like an Olympico, goes off of Digne's head on his corner. Then he comes in and scores on the break, and then he goes off with an injury. So it was like a trifecta. Amazing stuff. First, it's Matty Cash, one of the original Spice Boys that we used to talk about when
That's right.
when Aston Villa was playing Barkley, Grealish, and Target. I don't. Barkley's dead. I don't know where he
I
is.
guess
I
so.
think he must be on the under 23s for Chelsea somewhere. But Rafa de Benitez team is beaten. To be fair to Aston Villa, they're missing a lot of guys. So Rondon plays instead of DLC. Their defenders are Begovic is in for Pickford. So I mean, I don't even know if that's much better, but they're depleted a little bit. But Iwobi's playing, no big deal. But they had their guys. It's a good win for Villa, so they pick up their 3. So this was a what is this team game, and we
Right.
know what this team is. So happy for Villa to move up. They want to get into Europe, right? And they're sitting 10th right now,
By the
about where
way,
they should be.
about Villa, they played Emi Martinez, but they did not play Buendia, I
Hurt,
believe. Oh, he's hurt. Okay.
or was he on the
No, because
bench? I'm not sure.
he's one of the 4
Right,
from Brazil. So the first day they were able to be allowed in the country was actually Saturday.
right. They had been training in Croatia.
I believe were they training with the Spurs players?
Yes,
Okay, so it was
they were
Buendia,
all there.
Martinez, Romero, Lo Celso, and then Davinson Sanchez, who's not Argentinian. He's
Yes.
Colombian, but he got caught in all that shit.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I did notice the lineup that Martinez was in. And the other thing is, it's so much easier to plug your starting goalkeeper back in, right? Like, oh, he
Yeah.
hasn't played for 2 weeks. Fuck it, just
Yeah, yeah.
get in the sticks.
Buendia wasn't needed, so that's why they didn't put him in. They
I don't
had
know that he
already
wasn't needed. I mean,
no,
granted, they
they
won
were already
3-0.
winning. They already had the game. Yeah,
Right. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those where he's a new signing, so it's not like, again, it's not like bringing somebody in who like you has been there and was hurt right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. The
so he
the
still
other
needs some
the
betting
other
in.
the other one that was interesting was John McGinn got his already crooked face smashed. He got hit in the face and sort of was rolling around, tried to play, looked like he was going to throw up on the field and had to come off. So there was a concussion, substitution that I had not seen before.
Was
Didn't
that
count
in a
as
okay,
a
so it didn't count. I was gonna say what
no.
I've seen it where they have 3 and they're allowed one more because of the
Yes.
concussion protocol. But I haven't seen it basically say, okay, that one doesn't count for the 3. That's interesting.
Yeah, because
Um,
they had 4 changes. That one didn't count
yeah,
because it
yeah.
was in the 40th minute.
Uh-huh.
So that was cool. But yeah, there's that one. So I have my parlay of Villa, Arsenal, and Brighton. I win it. I did hedge a little bit for the draw and the win for Leicester because I already had the first 2 in the bag by Saturday, and Leicester played on Sunday. And then I had those 2 crazy VAR calls, and I was like, yeah. I also won on Brentford, which was the weirdest plus 390 for some reason ever. So I had a good week. It I really went 4 for 4, even though it was only 2 bets.
Right. So interesting. I actually, in the bets that I said on the show, I didn't do a lot of homework, and I said, all right, that's yours. Put mine up.
I won a lot of money.
There you go.
I might get
So
plus
I
2
looked
something.
Saturday morning. I was still in Florida. We were leaving later that day, and I went Brentford to win and Tony to score is plus $1,300. 1,300, not 300. So I literally, I had a
can't believe
ton.
that was. You should have hit it. That was such a good bet.
I had a ton in on college football, and I was just kind of groggy, and I didn't. I was going to put $100 on it. That would have been $1,300. So I didn't, and I was bummed about that. I had a wry smile on all day about it, and so I didn't bet that. I didn't hit United, but I did hit them live for about even at 0-0, and it was right before West Ham scored. So I ended up getting the late winner. All of those, the penalty kick nonsense and madness, ended up working out in my favor. So I did get that one. I also took the Man United team total, which was 1.5. I hit those both in like the 30th minute or so. So yes, I lost these 2 bets you see on the screen: Man United -1 and Crystal Palace +2, even odds. But I won 3, I think. The one thing that I mentioned, I alluded to with Kane, I said over 2.5 shots between the Greaves dying, between no Kante. I was all about it. I thought he would have 4, 5, 6 shots, not on goal, just shots. And
you got shafted on one, huh?
I got shafted. He took a shot from way out, but it went on net, and actually Kepa bundled it because it's what he does. And we actually almost scored on it. They called it a cross. He had 3 shots, but they didn't count one of them. So I would have won that bet. I'm pissed about it, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Let's have a look at the table, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we all know where we're at right now. So just clear, Chelsea are very clearly well away, and the table's starting to take shape. You could, if the season ended right now, this would not be that weird. I mean, probably
It'd be
Arsenal are a
weird that
little too low.
Brighton's in 4th.
Maybe not.
Not for you. Not for you. I know.
No. I obviously they'll have tougher days, and they'll need, they can't have a negative XD goal difference. They're getting lucky right now, but just sort of looks the way it should. City overperforming in games where they win. They're flat track bullies. Chelsea really putting the hammer down. Liverpool probably the best team in terms of shots right now at 14. They're doing about 25 shots a game. I think Sadio Mane had a game with 10 shots, which is why he's leading the league in XG. He only got 1 in that game, so he'll probably be behind his number the whole year. So XG is not the be all and end all, but it does give you a sense of quality within the team. So we can kind of see United, my team's there, Brentford playing well. We've been saying these sort of teams that we like.
Mm-hmm.
You can sort of see that they're there. Chelsea don't have a high XG because they don't need to. They can win without shooting. But then, a lot of good stuff. It'll start to shake out as the season goes along. But that's where we are right now. Chelsea in first, Liverpool, United, Brighton, City, Everton, Tottenham. You'd expect City will be in that Brighton spot any day now.
And on the back end, yeah, Newcastle, Burnley, and Norwich, right? The interesting thing there
Norwich is terrible.
Yeah.
In Deitch we trust. Maybe Newcastle. I have a hard time thinking Alan St. Maximin's team's going to go down. It's going to be I don't know how it'll shake up. I do feel like Norwich are nailed down. If they make it, I'd be shocked. It looks like Brentford are good, but we will see mid-season. They may have a stumble at some point. But
But
I
they're
would
not going to fall that far.
no, I would expect Watford to come down. But again, they have a goal scorer in Sarr. So Watford have
Yeah.
2 wins in the bank. They're going to hold on to those.
That's the thing, is it like, so again, like 40 points is the line where you're like, I'm fine. If you look at Brentford, who none of us expect Brentford to be in the relegation fight,
No, they're too good.
but they're a promoted team, right? Generally speaking, you go, okay, throw their name in the hat at least. They're
Yeah.
25% of the way to safe. And I'm not saying that their goal should be to be safe, but they're a quarter of the way there. So that's really, the league has, we talked about this, when during the preview, the league has gotten deeper, right? And so now you're looking at it like the Burnleys and the Newcastles are in deep shit because there's not a lot of other Burnleys and Newcastles left.
Yeah. I mean, I think if say Maximin gets hurt like he always does, especially with all that crazy shit he does, eventually someone's just going to kick him and be like, fuck off. Then they'll definitely be in trouble. Burnley, we trust, but you got to think that they'll find a way, but maybe not.
Well, Burnley,
and then,
Burnley we trust only because there's always been
better than the 3 shittier teams, right?
There's always been a sucker, right? So they're the sucker now.
I think there's the Crystal Palace might fall into it.
I had them in my 3, I believe. So the
Southampton,
team that I'm worried for,
Southampton
who, by the way,
are a little funky, but they just got 2 draws, one against United, one against City. That's not a team that's going down.
And Wolves are too good. Wolves are too good. They actually were 5th before this game. They were 5th in expected goal difference. So,
but that's the danger, right? We know why their expected goal difference is what it is. It's because of Adama Traore creates and gets into positions, and we know he doesn't score. So they're always going to have a good number, right?
No, that's true.
We know expected goals is for like unknown unknowns, or you don't watch. Like, I know why they have a high expected goals. It's because that one guy sucks, and their striker that they rely on has PTSD. He should have cracking his head.
He should have at least 1, maybe 2 on Saturday or Saturday. So
I think they're going to need we do have to wrap it up because we're on time and you've got to go places. So that is that.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Okay, that was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Courtines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sport Network, where Mike is over his shoulder.
That's right.
We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe and get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple or any other podcast platform, please rate and review the show because it makes a massive, massive difference. And I forgot to mention the Germans. I believe that there were U-boats in the Hudson River and they shelled New Jersey. Is that true? No,
I believe so. I believe so. I saw a couple on the drive.
All right, that's it.